Your nervous system protects the past. The organism stabilizes itself by repeating conditions it already survived. The nervous system holds a map of what preserved continuity and what disrupted it. Signals are routed through that map before language forms any account. Identity develops as the casing that fits around those preserved routes, giving them a consistent name and a consistent story. The result is a self that reads bodily signals as evidence and reads thought as confirmation. The pattern is not strategic or chosen. It is inherited from prior survival states, and it settles in incrementally through repeated pairings of sensation, prediction, and relief. Arousal becomes the ruler. The body tightens, breath shortens, and muscles prepare for interaction that matches the recorded threat profile. Attention constricts toward cues that line up with that profile and ignores cues that do not. Each narrowing reduces the margin for surprise. Reduced surprise feels like safety, and safety is registered as truth. The sequence becomes automatic. Detect predicted cue, activate known response, secure short-term relief, encode the pairing as proof. Identity fracture appears when incompatible survival routes coexist. In one setting, vigilance is categorized as responsibility. In another, withdrawal is categorized as prudence. The shifts are not deliberate. They track context cues that the body has linked with different survival contingencies. Language provides a smooth explanation after the shift already happened. The story says preference. The nervous system shows compulsion by state. Contradictions across settings are not felt as contradictions because each state defines a separate threshold for what counts as necessary, safe, or intolerable. Agency thinned until it was gone. The autonomic loop confirms itself. Sympathetic activation scans for threat and finds it. Parasympathetic braking arrives too late or not at all. When braking does occur, it reinforces avoidance, not recalibration. The hormone profile follows the loop, making the body more efficient at repeating it. The person reports certainty about the world, while the world being referenced is narrow and repetitive. Certainty maps to relief, and relief becomes indistinguishable from truth. This is consolidation. Neural assemblies that fire together when a threat pattern is anticipated gain speed and lower thresholds. Memory reconsolidation favors nodes that predict the old outcome. Mismatched inputs are downweighted as noise. The body recognizes posture and voice tones before the mind assigns meaning. The first interpretation is visceral, and the label arrives as if it was the cause rather than the echo. Over time, plasticity contracts around the profile that has most often reduced perceived risk. Control slipped and did not return. The outcome feels justified from inside the body because justification rides on relief. Relief means the map was right, and the nervous system secures the lesson. Novelty reads as mistake because it raises arousal. Mistake reads as danger because arousal is miscoded as a warning, not a variable. Attention then looks for explanations that will keep novelty from gaining ground again. Logic is selected for its ability to preserve the set point, not its relation to the outside pattern. Interoception supplies a running commentary that masquerades as a clean signal. Pressure in the chest, constriction in the throat, heat in the face, these are treated as verdicts. They were built as thresholds, and thresholds become borders. Crossing them triggers corrective behavior that gets described as reasoned, adult, and principled. The correction is simply the organism pushing back against predicted volatility and returning to the narrow band where it has prior proof of continuity. The identity's surface narrative stabilizes around these recurrent corrections. It favors language that depicts caution as wisdom, firm boundaries as integrity, and distance as clarity. Behaviors that reduce ambiguity are reframed as values. The body receives less unpredictable input and experiences that as cohesion. The cost is hidden because costs outside the band are not sampled and cannot enter the internal evidence base. Choice narrowed and then fully closed. Fragmentation increases with context switching. Work demands composure and fast inference. Home enforces withdrawal and minimal engagement. Social interaction alternates between performance and disappearance. Each compartment is constructed on bodily rules, not on deliberate selection. The mind retrofits explanations to present a single person, but the storage underneath remains partitioned by state. The appearance of consistency is a product of storytelling, not integration. Micromovements tell the direction of the loop, clenching before decision points, scanning faces for micro-threats, editing speech on the fly to remove exposure, taking positions that reduce room for reversal. The person becomes an efficient operator of pre-written scripts. Scripts trigger precisely at the early signs of deviation and halt possibilities before they form. The nervous system rewards that halt with a flicker of quiet, which is interpreted as correctness. Evidence intake adapts to the loop. Information that introduces latency increases arousal and is tagged as unreliable or hostile. Information that speeds closure reduces arousal and is tagged as sound or moral. The assessment is not philosophical. It is mechanical. The quicker the return to the predicted state, the more righteousness is felt. Righteousness is indistinguishable from physiological settling because both export the same relief signal. Other people become functional components in this system. Those who amplify arousal are problem sources. Those who dampen arousal are recoded as safe fixtures. A person registers the same tendencies in different people because the registration is internal rather than relational. Conflicts repeat with new names because the pattern is portable and self-creating. Alliances repeat too, flat and constrained, because they serve the same task. Minimize prediction error, even at social cost. The organism's time horizon compresses. Long-range trade-offs that would require tolerating uncertainty are dismissed in favor of actions that secure immediate alignment with the past map. The benefit feels real because the body stops shouting. The body is not neutral. It is conditioned to equate quiet with truth. The identification of quiet as proof makes anything else suspicious, ignorant, or dangerous by definition. Language functions as the outer casing that hides the machinery. The person is convinced the conclusions are theirs. The machinery is convinced the conclusions match its survival template. This co-endorsement eliminates doubt from the inside and makes external mismatch feel like an error in others. The system's logic propagates forward because it does not encounter sufficient contradiction. That is allowed to count as contradiction. Behavior aligns with the loop and becomes easy to predict. Withdrawal appears before anyone requests it. The person declines opportunities on multiple pretexts that align with the past map: timing, principle, capacity, standards. Even when nominally accepting, actual availability shrinks until the parameters look identical to previous cycles. There is no announcement. There is simply a record of repeated early exits and managed exposures. Others adapt by revising their private model. They remove uncertainty by placing the person where the loop will be least disruptive. Offers become smaller, timelines become narrower, and responsibilities become easier to reassign. No one needs to explain. The model is enacted in calendar invites, message tone, and distribution lists. Absence is produced by planning, not by confrontation. The person's insistence that values were protected reads as a scheduling fact to everyone else. Credibility leaked away and did not return. Neutral faces become distant faces. People stop investing in long spans that depend on that person's participation. The trust that would permit ambiguity is replaced with contingency planning. Fewer variables are left in the person's hands, which produces less trust going forward. The social field conserves energy by preempting known disruptions. The new order requires no argument because it lowers risk for everyone involved. Performance is observed through the lens of predictability, not capacity. Even strong outputs are offset by the cost of coordinating around the loop. Coordination fatigue sets a ceiling on roles that could have expanded. Tasks are assigned for minimal dependency, which yields small achievements that do not translate into position. A tight loop in the body produces a tight loop in perception, and that tight loop produces a tight loop in opportunity. Trust is gone and won't return. The person's explanations are logged, but not used. Language has less weight than the pattern of arousal-led decisions. Colleagues and partners drift into arrangements that remove decision points from the person's control. Handovers are pre-configured. Contingencies are established without notice. No one asks permission to treat the person as a known risk, because it is efficient and aligns with the repeated record. This happens quietly. Meetings are scheduled at times that exclude. Important conversations occur in adjacent channels. Roles are written with ambiguous phrases that allow substitution. It looks like neutral administration. It is the system smoothing itself over the obstruction, not punishing it. The person is present and not included. The absence does not read as cruel. It reads as maintenance. Authority faded and never came back. In personal relations, the same economics apply. Plans are made that do not rely on the person's follow-through. Invitations are replaced with acknowledgments after the fact, which feel courteous but seal distance. The stories told about the person become concrete, prefers control, avoids change, resists repair. Those stories circulate because they consistently predict the next afternoon, the next week, the next quarter. The label sticks because the loop is steady. A narrow identity carries a narrow set of permissions. Others stop checking whether more is possible. They do not test for growth because the system they observe shows no space for it to land. Testing for growth is costly. Repeated refusal trains the environment away from offering it. The person's own claims about capability become inaudible because there is no structural need to verify them. The past supplies the answer, and the answer is used. The mechanism closes further in response to this social pruning. Reduced exposure creates fewer chances for contradictory experiences to be logged by the nervous system. Without those exposures, the body receives only confirmations. The map hardens and filters more aggressively. The loop consumes what remains of flexibility and calls it integrity. The external downgrade and the internal consolidation reinforce each other without either side intending it. No one escalates. There are no ultimatums. Feedback arrives as diminished assignments, shorter replies, and the absence of meaningful stakes. The person is not confronted because confrontation requires confidence in repair, and confidence is not available. The system settles into a stable arrangement that protects everyone from uncertainty by averting dependence on the variable node. The arrangement is efficient and cold. Outcomes accumulate in straight lines. The person's record shows the same pivot points, the same exits, the same explanations. The environment reads the record and turns it into policy. Gatekeepers adjust criteria in ways that match the pattern, often without noticing they are doing so. The role of the person shrinks to the footprint of past safety, so small that nothing significant can move through it. The shrinkage is taken as natural. Opportunity migrates to people whose bodies do not trigger the same loop at those thresholds. Those people appear more grounded and more dependable, not because they are morally different, but because their systems do not resist the necessary uncertainty in that context. Meanwhile, the person's system continues to register difference as danger, and danger is proof. The result is distribution, not trauma. There is no visible line where change could occur because no one leaves that line open. The new baseline is self-maintaining. Schedules, roles, and reputations enforce it with quiet accuracy. Attempts to assert otherwise land against a field that has already optimized around the existing map. The optimization appears fair because it matches experience. The experience matches the body, and the body matches the past. The circle closes, and the closure is accepted as policy.